The watercolor paper you're using is holding you back. Paper is the one thing that makes a big difference. More than paints, more than the time you're putting in. And for me, that is the #1 hack for beginners. But there are a couple of problems with that. First, good paper, 100% cotton paper, is expensive. Whereas cellulose, yeah, it's cheap. And let's face it, as beginners, it's not like we're going to paint something really awesome. But how do we know that if the supplies keep getting in our way? Look at this. This was painted on cheap cellulose paper. Look at all the hard edges. There's no blending. You can see exactly the colors I used and where the strokes start and when the strokes finish. How would this look on good quality paper? Before we're done, I will show you the exact same painting on 100% cotton, high quality paper. And then we will know without a doubt if it's worth it. Let's test the heck out of these papers and see how they both perform. Let's meet our contenders. Now this is my Fabriano right here, 25% cotton paper. I mean, I'm not even using Canson. And this is my Hahnemühle Expression 100% cotton. Just bought it, very excited, never tried this brand before. If you want to get this specific Hahnemühle paper to try it out yourself, look for the 100% cotton symbol and the expression. They have one that it's exactly the same. I think it's called Harmony. That isn't 100% cotton. These are both 300 GSMs, 140 pounds, cold pressed, fine grain. Let's open these up real quick and look at the texture. Now this is a regular pad, whereas this one is a glued block. This one is so much smoother. This one is a lot more rugged, even though they're both the same. This is almost satin grain, I would say. And the first thing we're going to test is color vibrancy, okay? How do the paints work on each of the papers? And I have my Winsor & Newton, and this is what I'll be using for all our tests. I'm going to start with the Fabriano first. We're just going to make some real simple squiggles to see how the colors behave. And now we are going to do the same with the Hahnemühle. I think that just with the first test we're able to get some conclusions. Fabriano starts pretty vibrant. I did load up my brush a lot with the paint, and then as it moves, I know this is a little bit more rugged than the Hahnemühle, but you can definitely see that it's not even, not at all. You can see, the watermarks. It loses not only color, but it loses the shine, it loses vibrancy throughout the exercise. Whereas for Hahnemühle, did the same thing, loaded my brush. As you can see, it's pretty dark. And as it grows lighter, you still keep that vibrancy, right? It's still pretty neat. It's much more even though I added so much water, much more even than the Fabriano. Yeah, overall, it's just much more perfect. And now let's do a little bit of wet on wet action. This is where you usually see the major differences. Good quality paper is all about controlled freedom, if that's even a thing. The paint runs free, but it doesn't go too crazy. Not so good paper will either, be completely out of control, or the paint won't move at all and you lose all that watercolor expansiveness that's so magical. Big, huge difference here, guys. For the Fabriano, you can still see, the squiggle for sure, but yeah, it's not really a squiggle anymore. It looks like, a wave. Whereas for the Hahnemühle, you can definitely see, the original shape. Yes, it expanded a little bit. That's the magic of watercolors. We love that flow, but it kept its original shape. Now, for what is probably my favorite test, let's see some blooms. Again, we're looking for control and expansiveness, okay? We want that perfect balance between the two with, some even, round blooms. Look at that. Yeah. Orange has no shame for this color, ladies and gentlemen. I also want to see how quick the paint dries on each paper. Oh, the difference in the vibrancy. I mean, come on. Same color, look at that. It's like a completely different color, but it isn't. As far as our blooms go, as you can see for the Fabriano, now this is nice and dry and they're a little bit messy, they're not very vibrant. They lost its shape for the most part, just the red ones that you can see, they still kept it going. A lot of pooling, a lot of hard edges. For the Hahnemühle, aside from the orange debacle, it is, you can definitely see the shape for all the blooms we made. Let's keep going with our testing. I'm gonna pick a color and I'm gonna start with some really strong, vibrant, and then I want to see it lose color and turn into a different value. That did not happen. It's the exact same thing. That's not good for this paper, I have to say. yeah. The difference in subtlety is like something I've never seen yet. Let's see if we can do this with a lighter color. Yeah, it isn't soaking up the paint. This is by far the worst part about cellulose paper. It's the pooling that it does. Look at that. That's the subtlety of good paper with good paint. Yeah, it's already drying over there. Can you see that little cauliflower effect it's making? We need to do a little bit of blending. I love doing blending. I always pick the same two colors, red and blue, and then we get purple, which is my favorite color. We start with the blue, and then we go here, and now they meet. And we just keep going a little bit. We go back and forth, and this should be enough to turn them into purple. Oh, the vibrancy alone, I mean, come on, such a big difference. And we enter enemy territory, and we go back and we go forth, and there's our purple. I think that the result is so obvious. I mean, look at these blues. Look at this. Look how perfect this is and how crappy that one is. There's no other word for it. It's crappy. The blending failed completely. Yeah, this is a mess. Hard edges, cauliflower effects, backwash, loss in vibrancy. I don't know what to tell you. And then we get to this one. Look at, you know, the subtlety of this. We have two bright colors at the ends who meet to make this third very soft, very subtle purple. And you can't really see where one ends and the other one begins, which is the perfect blending as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, big win for the Hahnemühle. You need to see how good or how bad these papers allow for lifting. And I do realize that paint has a lot to do with it too, but we are using the same paint on both papers, so that shouldn't be a problem. It is possibly the one thing where cellulose paper is better than 100% cotton, is how well you can lift paint off it, because it just doesn't absorb the paint. I'm using a lot of water here. It is starting to move a little bit. Let me dry it a little bit more. So if lifting is your thing, cellulose is your paper. Now, as promised, let me show you the painting I made earlier in 100% cotton paper. The thing I hated most about the cellulose drawing, you can't really see here. It's all blending. You have no idea how many layers of paint I have here, how many colors I used. They're blended so perfectly, so incredibly perfectly. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, a beginner did it. Don't forget to leave me a comment below telling me if you think, you know, 100% cotton paper is worth it. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye!